Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of PitchUs. Super excited to have Tara Spalding here today. My name is Tim Cooley. I'm one of the founders of PitchUs. I'm also the author of the Pitch Deck book. We've seen thousands of pitches in our time, Tara included, and all we want to do is help people present better. What we see is I'd say about 80% of presentations just miss critical things and therefore never even make it past the screening process. And so, Tara, please introduce yourself.
Hey, Tim, thank you so much for having me on as one of your guest critiquers. My name is Tara Spalding. I'm based in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have recently accepted the position of Chief Programming Officer at venturecapital.org. Venturecapital.org is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we actually help groom founders such as Taylor to be prepared for making that very first pitch. We also connect founders with different capital resources from venture to angel to debt, etc. So it's a really fun thing. Personally, my focus is on women entrepreneurs. However, I've been working with venturecapital.org since 2015, and I've worked with a wide variety of entrepreneurs. And other than that, I've ran an accelerator, an incubator. I am a serial entrepreneur myself. I've raised over $60 million in funding with my career in previous life in Silicon Valley. And I just know how brutal it is to get the investors' attention, especially in that first introduction meeting, which often is cold. So honored to be here. Happy to give my perspective on this pitch.
And then please plug We Angels that just launched.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up, Tim, because this is super important. Tim, did you know that there are ranging between 26 and 33% of angel investors are actually women? That should not be the ratio. It should be absolutely 50-50. As Taylor knows, angel investment is the first and most important investment step in formalizing a company because it's that first leap of faith of capital. What We Angels is doing, and this is actually a component of venturecapital.org, is we are educating anyone, in particular women, on how to become angel investors. And we're focusing here in Utah because it's really important to activate our community. And in particular, We Angels is focusing on women entrepreneurs, and that's the WE in the name of We Angels. So we're building a education path to activation and investment for anyone who wants to help support women entrepreneurs and angel investing.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Taylor, we're super excited to have you here. Please go ahead, share your screen, and then pitch us.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show. Very grateful to be here. So my name is Taylor Stull. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Flowell. And we are really aiming to build a gamification engine and software as a service to reduce preventable illness and just keep the world healthier. So a bit about my background before we dive in. So my background professionally is in population health product management and sales. I spent the last 5 years in New York City building and architecting solutions that are really meant to prevent the onset of chronic illness and to keep people healthy for the long term. And so when I was faced with my own personal health challenges, I didn't want to turn to medications. And I found that the solution for me was really rooted in community, in challenges and fun experiences with that community and with external rewards. And that really changed the way that I walked through life and inspired me to, found a company to be able to help others do the same. And so what the mission of Flowell is to really create opportunities for connections and experiences that really benefit people's health, their communities, and the world. And the way that we do that is by really aiming to be the data backbone and to provide an AI toolkit to other businesses and individuals that are seeking to deliver health outcomes for populations of people, whether they be chronically ill, at risk, or just individuals who are looking to live a healthy lifestyle. And I'm sure that, it's no surprise to you that the world is really unhealthy and it's quite expensive. The World Health Organization put out a report in October citing that the lack of physical activity is going to cost the world $117 billion by 2030. And just here in the United States, every year we spend $730 billion on preventable treatments in healthcare. And there are enormous amounts of wellness programs. Almost every single employer, I'm sure, Tara, your businesses that you fund at venturecapital.org, probably one of the first things in their employee benefits packages is wellness program, checked box. But unfortunately, those wellness programs are only engaged with about 15% of the population of either members or employees. And that's a huge problem, and it's really missing the mark. And so Flowell aims to provide the solution where we're providing gamification software as a service to boost program engagement, drive outcomes, and ultimately increase margins for those employers, payers, providers that really have revenue tied to positive health outcomes, and it's driven through cost savings. So our market opportunity is substantial, and our market entry point is with the health and fitness coaching industry, where there's 2 million independent coaches, health and fitness coaches in the United States, about 20% independent. We're able to serve them and to provide them support to drive the outcomes that keep revenue flowing and their clients happy. And really what we'll aim to do is to leverage that core technology that's serving coaches to scale into a market of wellness program providers that are serving payers, employers, and healthcare providers to really drive outcomes and reduce costs of those member bases. So in order to do this and execute on this grand vision, we need to be able to see the future across health information management, gaming, tokenization and reward strategies, the future of wearables, and certainly health and fitness programming. And so we've assembled a team of advisors that represents the best in the industry, from the creator of Fortnite to the VP of Population Health at Mount Sinai Health System, down to the head of global strategy for wearables at Qualcomm. Flowell is positioned to be the business that drives engagement for the healthcare industry at large. And my team is made up of serial entrepreneurs, and we have a full-time development team of 6 individuals, as well as 4 full-time sales and operations folks to take care of our coaches, which is who we are starting with. And we are hyper-focused on delivering a solution to their core problems, which is they really need help building their business. They lack a clear solution. They don't know exactly what technology platforms to use and what to piece together. And they're oftentimes isolated with no community or support. And we hear that time and time again from our coaches who generally are earlier in their careers. The existing solutions in the market are really dropping the ball on engagement with clients and with providing that path to success for coaches. They're really just a kind of what we hear in the layman terms of our customers, a cold software solution. And so Flowell provides that community orientation and peer-to-peer networking, as well as a success plan and app for $94 a month. And really it gives them that full experience of not only building their business, but also having connections and support with expert mentors, peers in there who may be at different points of their journey, and of course the Flowell specialist team. Our application integrates with just about every health app and wearable, and we're able to engage their clients and communities to deliver both traditional rewards in the form of discounts, and certainly we're thinking the future and have a tokenized reward system that's powered by the Ethereum blockchain. We also have demonstrated really substantial opportunities in terms of our go-to-market and top-of-funnel channels. We don't pay a single dollar for any of the 750 leads that we get per month. And we've demonstrated over the last 3 months a 40% conversion rate of those top-of-funnel leads. What we aim to do here in the next 6 months is to march steadily towards a break-even point of 800 coaches with, naturally a 40% conversion, 750 top of funnel. We certainly have a path to profitability. We aim to pass that benchmark and then march steadily to a close of 2023 with a $245,000 top line and a 50% margin. But the future does not stop with coaches. And really what we're aiming to do is build an API solution that integrates with wellness program providers to deliver value to employers, providers, and payers who really have their margins tied to cost savings that result from healthcare reduction. Yeah. And so what we do is provide them the tools necessary to boost engagement of their existing solutions. We're not aiming to reinvent the wheel, but just make their existing programs better. And the best way to build for the future audience is to actually build alongside one of our future customers. And so we've established a strategic partnership with Pear Health Labs, which is the wellness program provider for United Healthcare, Optum, and the German Soccer Federation. And so we're working with them and to deliver an innovative engagement solution for not only their platforms and programs that are serving these clients, but also their consumer-facing app, which you might be familiar with, which is called Aptive, and a health and fitness programming and content solution serving about 300,000 people in the world. Our revenue opportunities through this channel are pretty substantial. We'll have a licensing fee, that flat fee per month, and then a revenue share where we're sharing in their per member per month revenue coming from the payers and organizations that they serve. So what this allows us to do is certainly in the near term with our coaches hit our break-even point and reach our $1 million run rate here in Q2 of this upcoming year, and then march steadily towards what we aim to do is raise a seed round with our $245,000 top line and 50% margin to really fuel the hiring of enterprise sales team members and integration engineers so that we can move into that B2B market. And of course, health is really a global problem. And so what we intend to do is establish this foothold in the US market before raising a Series A and expanding internationally to reach that $100 million annual run rate mark in 3 to 5 years. So what we're doing today is raising a $1 million round to fuel the next 15 months of growth, certainly achieve our revenue benchmarks, secure channel partnerships to boost that top of funnel number of coaches coming in from 750 to 2,000. And we have line of sight to the top 3 health and fitness certification providers. We already have one of the top 5 locked in and ready to partner and launch with us on December 1. And then certainly fulfilling, all of the product roadmap requirements that we have to deliver the coaching solution and gamification technology, so we're able to rock and roll when it's ready for prime time come January next year in the launch with Pear. So certainly interested in any questions you might have, and hope you're interested in the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. What we love to do right now is kind of tell you the things that we really liked about it. And so Tara, please, since you're our guest, go first.
I think the overall benefit as to what you're trying to do on merging gamification with coaching, et cetera, is really interesting. I've seen a couple of presentations, but not quite taking this sort of angle. So first and foremost, I think that's interesting. The second thing I like is your personal experience as well as the team that you've been able to align around what you're doing with Flowell. It certainly lends to this sort of credibility. And the third thing that I was interested in is the path to profitability. You're really looking at this as a business plan.
Yeah, great job. I mean, honestly, things that Tara mentioned are spot on. A couple things I really liked. I like that you led with your background. We will get into some more of the nuance there, but I thought that was really great. It gave you instant credibility for what you were building. So great job there. I have to say this. Thanks for ending with this ask slide. It's awesome. This is my, if I can make one change in the world, I want people to wrap everything up on one slide. And if you notice, your contact information is there. So great job there. Your team is very impressive for where you're at. I'm curious, actually, how did you build this team? How did that come about? I'm asking.
So the internal team,
both
my
your advisors and
co-CTOs. Sorry?
Both your advisors and the intern.
Yeah, so I'll start with the internal, then I'll go to the advisory. So internal team, my co-founder and I have been aiming to solve this problem. We've been working on different solutions since 2016. And this is probably the sixth solution. We are masters of the pivot and committed to the mission. And we also, brought in Rob and Sioj back in May through, honestly, my brother introduced me to Rob, and he is, had 3 startups in the past and has worked with Sioj for 3 years. And, through those 2, they had worked with individuals in development in Goa, India. And so Sioj is actually based in Goa. And so our full development team is working with us for under 20 grand a month. So we have 6 full-time individuals for less than 20 grand. The success team, we've actually converted our customers into our team members. And so our early customers, they loved what we were doing so much that they said, well, how do I get involved? How can I spread the mission of Flowell? And so we created opportunities for them, onboarding and, creating basically the success plan fulfillment that I mentioned for the coaches. And then in terms of the advisory, quite frankly, it has just been pure determination. Cold outreach for most folks, asking for help and advice. I think that I've learned that along my journey is that I can certainly not do this alone. I do not have all the answers, and surrounding myself with just an expert team of people who have done it before, have seen corners that I don't even know exist. It's really critical. And so, have just been very fortunate to, have a mission that folks can get behind and are super aligned to in terms of, really driving health improvement and quality of life improvement for people all around the world.
Cool. Yeah. Well, great job. Team is amazing. One thing that I want to point out that you did very well, and it was very subtle, but you brought Tara back into the conversation. That's not a very common thing people do. And it is actually a nice thing if it makes sense. And so you did a good job with that. Like, it's kind of off the cuff and it wasn't forced or anything. So you did a great job there. All right. So let's move into areas where we think there are improvement. And again, Tara, please start us off.
Taylor, is this the deck that you would email to prospective investors?
No, it's not.
What is the difference between the two?
The deck I email, well, it depends on what, if I have not had a conversation yet with them, then the deck is about 8 slides. It has market opportunity, the problem solutions on one slide. It does not have competition. We got rid of the API slide. Yeah.
Okay, great. So this includes more for the conversation. And I kind of got that sense because, there were several slides that were very, what I would say, talking point specific. However, when you're speaking, if there's more than 10 words on the slide, it makes people who are visually inclined to not pay attention to you audio-wise, but to read the slide. And it could be considered a deterrent. Either people are going to lock into you, and it's up to you to make sure that you precisely communicate the details on every single slide, or people are going to read the slide and just kind of listen to your voice but not pay attention. It's very difficult to find people with both of those skills.
Understood. Yeah. Could definitely thin words. I say most of it.
Yeah. I mean, Tim, what's your opinion?
Yeah, totally agree. Because I'll say, like, maybe halfway through, there was a couple slides that just had quite a few words on them. We actively read while you speak. And if your words aren't aligning to the words that are on the thing, it's actually very confusing. So because we're trying to keep up with you, but then it's like, wait, what did I just read? And so then there becomes like a kind of a clash moment of my ears and my brain. So if you reduce the words and you go to like 2 million runway, you can talk about that. And I only need those bullet points, right? Or those couple words, right? Because you're just kind of keeping the flow going.
A good rule of thumb would just to be use as little words as possible, preferably under 10. And then to also emphasize up to 3 points on each of the slides. Like, you definitely have much more in your narrative, which is fabulous, and you should. And you should also have backup slides that can explain in case questions come in. But, making sure that, like, for example, you mentioned a really great point of like, it's only 15% penetration when you were talking on the problem slide. Yet I didn't see 15% on there. And that could have been your killer number and graphic that could basically suck me in as a prospective investor. That in fact, it's penetration and the adoption that's the most key point. And that's why you're going after gamification. And so I would say simplify when you look at your narrative, like what's the one aha moment for each of these things, and just simplify and just focus on that one point, per each slide.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. The next is that was not clear to me until about halfway through the deck on exactly who is paying for this, because there were several possible buyers mentioned, especially in the beginning, like from employment to healthcare providers, and then we got to coaches, etc. So I think what would also help me personally is to really simplify uh, the duality of not only like the customer, application user, a doctor, those that are trying to get more healthy, but really that this is a lane for the coaching, and then that's the most important direct connection. If that was made earlier, I think I would have just really been more excited about the gamification. It just took me a minute to get to there. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I 100% literally on my thing. So, I'll add to this. So you talked about mission and vision to start. I'd recommend actually removing that because that comes out in the whole presentation. That's the whole vision of what you're doing. So you don't need to, those are great for internal marketing tools, things like that. But yeah, like you started going off on 750 billion, and then it was like slide 5, I think, when you mentioned coaches. And you did a great job there. Once you got to that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So what are you doing to them? Okay, so coaches have these problems. So not only are we solving their problems, but we're bringing my background in gamification to not only help them, but their clients as well, right? So that's the problem, right? And your solution is just that, right? Like we built a tool to help these people and their people. And so we were like halfway through and that wasn't even stated, right? So I would actually bring all of that to the front. All the other stuff, while they're true and they're data points, they're just not adding value to what you're doing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, I think that some feedback that I've received in doing, not obviously tonight, but the problem of coaches not having a good enough business is not a big enough problem to solve. It's not an earth problem, and not a venture backable problem. And so that in that receiving that feedback, it's sort of driven me to say, well, why are we helping coaches? And the reason is because we want to drive health outcomes and reduce preventable illness, and sort of incentivize physical activity. And what is the how do we see that problem tangibly? And it's in the excess healthcare spend, which is why I lead with sort of the earth problem. But I totally understand where you're coming from in terms of understanding the customer, right? So saying, hey, we have this earth problem, and the boots on the ground are the coaches that can help the community in really driving this forward, but they have these problems, right? And kind of going into the don't have community, don't know technology, and whatnot. So
And Taylor, I think you're hitting it on the head, which is oftentimes people start by painting the problem and who is deeply experiencing this. To Tim's point, instead of the mission vision out of the gate, do just that. Put us into the shoes of a coach. And you can even build it in a storytelling format of like, meet James or Jane. And she's a coach and she has this massive business growth opportunity, yet here's where her business is inhibited. And then we all of a sudden are using normal business speak, without it getting too complicated and without it being too detached from what exactly has your amazing team created and established, and why you're moving into the partnerships that you have chosen.
Certainly. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and think about this. So MindBody, right? Probably the largest player in this space in some form or fashion. They just hit $350 million a year. I would say that's an earth problem, right? You could do the math. How many coaches are there? Let's say there's 500,000. How many? So 2 million is a pretty solid market for people who have the business problem, right? And so if your business model is not $100 a month times 2 million, that's a pretty big market, right? So if you start, and again, so this is a great topic, because you're in the beginning stages of this company and you need a wedge, right? You need a wedge into the market that nobody else can compete with. And that's what we're looking for, right? Like, oh, this guy's built the tool. You've already got, I think I saw your guys are in test flight, right? But yeah, so we're driving a wedge into this particular market with the plan to go big with these other partnerships and things like that, which is what you communicated. But if you got to get that in the right
concise
line.
slide. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else, Tara?
My other thing is that I want to feel that because I like the go-to-market plan. I liked that you did the partnership and the path to profitability, but I want to see traction points that in fact the business model is going to work, and that you have that operational control to maintain a solid profitability in this space. As you know, companies that are SaaS operated need, north of 90% of a margin for it to really be institutionally venture backed. Are you building this company with that sort of lens and aperture in mind? And if so, tell us about it, because we as angel investors would love to sneak in before a massive fund and get more lucrative investment terms like this use of funds and the 1 million on the 6.5 million cap. Like, we would love to sneak in on this, especially if we think in 15 months your traction points are plausible for us to think that you can 3x growth it in the 15 months, right? So if you can share a little bit more of the traction and the proof points that will show that it will remain, profitable, I think that would be very helpful.
May I ask what proof points would really ignite your appetite that weren't in here?
Yeah, for traction, sometimes, well, I'll tell you which one I did like was the partnership, because I recognized the logo, and I know that logo will then just bring in a channel of soccer coaches, I believe you mentioned, over in Europe, which is powerful. I think that's one piece. If there are more components like that, which basically assure that this go-to-market with the direct sales is actually going to work and convert, I think that would be very, very helpful for me personally.
So just to repeat that back to you a bit. So what you're looking for is demonstration that our direct sales are in fact converting month over month, and that there is retention of those customers, right? That's pretty much what you're looking for.
That maintains the profitability. Yes. Taylor, when you see presentations like ours or companies that are somewhat older, you'll notice like there's a blip of adoption, but then it just tailors out, and then it usually just dissolves profitability, or sometimes even puts companies in red because they're over investing in marketing and sales, and sometimes the dollar invested doesn't even bring a dollar in profitability. So it's just that sort of like acumen, sensitivity, and like, look, we're choosing this path. We already have traction points. We already are getting these larger entities, and we're able to sustain this profitability that typical SaaS companies are expecting.
Yeah, I think I need to put it in the slide because we don't pay $1 for any acquisition. It's free ads on Indeed and LinkedIn, and the referral partners funnel their new graduates into Flowell. So there is a $0 cost to acquire. And then naturally there is a cost associated with the sales channel and the sales team. But then once they're through, then there's pretty minimal overhead to just keep them using the software and having, automated check-ins using HubSpot and other automation softwares that we've deployed.
Yeah, so I think to add to that, I think what you need to do is really clearly show that. So, for example, like I think what you did in your slides is you had a lot of things together. So, for example, you had like your traction on the same slide as your business model, right? And then you had kind of like the revenue that and other traction metrics mixed in some ways with your forecast. And I think what, if I'm hearing Tara correctly, and what I would have loved to have seen is, look, we already have, we're closing for you. Your math says something like 300 new clients every month, right? And so you're making 30 grand every month without doing any money, without spending any money. That's insane.
We want
right?
to see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that just maybe that's true, but it wasn't said. Is that true?
Yeah, well, the ISSA partnership launches at the 1st of December. So there will be some ramp up time so that we can tune our conversion funnel. But yeah, that's the case.
So how many active paying people do you have now?
Yep. So we have 130 coaches, and so we have 130, and we've ramped up over the last 3 months because we only launched in test flight about 2.5.
And then when's the Android version coming?
Q1.
Okay, so those are those things that I would have loved to have seen, like really clearly, like, hey, look, so here's what we did. We started this 3 months ago. We got our test flight out. We've got 150 people on the platform. We've made $10,000, right? Like that simply is like, okay, cool. We also have this partnership. Here's what we're doing next. We're raising $1 million, right, to go Android. Close that final partnership. That just puts it really clear. Don't make me think, right? Just throw it out there.
That's super helpful, Tim.
Yeah,
definitely.
Anything else, Tara?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so I told you about the mission thing. And by the way, I just want to say you did a great job. This was actually it was very easy to listen to. It's just those things that, like, for us, because we do this so often, we're looking for very specific things. And I would say, like, this is actually, it wasn't terrible. So, but there were some things that I would have loved to have seen. For example, if you would have deleted the first half, you would have gone in this order: problem for the coaches, the solution, show me the solution. I would have loved to have seen some screenshots, whatever, of how you're solving those key problems for those coaches. That business model, $93 a month, right? Go right into the forecast, right? So, and blow that up, like make it really easy to see, like we were just talking about. And then build your market slide around those coaches, right? Because I don't know if that 350 million as your SOM, where that came from, right? So you kind of gave that to slide 3, but we didn't even know what your business model was or who you were selling to. Does that make sense? So if you build it that way, right? Problem, solution, business model, market, we're already you're preempting questions for us, right? Like if I were to sell you a pair of shoes, you'd be like, oh, I like these ones. And your next question is, how much does it cost? And so that's like what we're asking you, right? Like, so if you follow that similar kind of sales process, I would say, that will do that for you. Man, I would love you just to reorganize this. I think you have a lot of the pieces here. And I think going back to Tara's point in the beginning, if you remove some of the words and you just reorganize, I think this would be an excellent presentation because you're a good speaker. But it's just some of those things where I'm like, I don't know if you told me or not, So anyways, that's most of my feedback. I'm trying to think of anything else. No, that's it. That's all I got. Okay. So great conversation. So what it boils down to now is, and based off of what we heard, not anything that we've learned after the conversation. And this is what happens typically. You go in cold, you may know a person. And so based off of that, Tara, based off what you heard today, would you move this company onto due diligence?
I think you would pass the introduction screening, but I would have very specific questions because there are some aspects that I am skeptical about, like first off, traction, and secondly, like what we were mentioning before, just a cleaner financial, growth plan in the business model. And I'd also ask more about the coaches and the adoption. And I think if we can have some, I would say, backup slides about that, then the answer is probably. But I just would want some clarification on that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. And I'm going to add a little bit to that. There's some things here that I love this space. So you don't know my background, but I actually built health and wellness apps.
I read your book.
Okay.
I do know your
Okay, good.
background.
Okay, sweet. So you do. So this is a place that just speaks to my heart. I love seeing applications like this. I literally spent 10 years building things like this. So I personally would love to get a demo. And that's always a good thing, right? I do think from a presentation point of view, it just needs some work. And I think that that's easy to fix those things. Like the adoption is a huge element. And I just don't think you communicated what you have in a way that you're like, oh, I can see why other coaches would sign up for this. With that being said, you threw in kind of the big vision, like this huge thing. It was a really complicated slide. I don't know if that's necessary today. It can be, but we'd have to play around with that from Tara's people at Venture Capital Org pitched probably like 20 times, so the more and more and more you do it, the better they get. And so I would love to see that. And as Tara said, this is one of those ones I'm personally interested in following. I would have you come back. And one of the big things that we see in these is coachability, right? Not saying you have to take all of our advice, but if you came and presented this second time and didn't make any changes, then it kind of indicates who we're listening to. And so I would just say it that way, like, please stay in touch. I would want to see this in a couple, maybe even a month, but I want to see version 2 of the deck first. So that's my answer to that question.
Sure. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, let's go.
That's perfect. I love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, sweet Taylor, thank you so much for presenting. Tara, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. As I said, my name's Tim Cooley. If you guys need help, please read the book. It's got a lot of great examples in there. It's called the Pitch Deck book. And if you need help with your financials, there's a link below, and it gives you a great discount on Forecaster. Probably the best discount out there, I think. So check it out, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.